Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Nicolas Refn's The Neon Demon. Now, this was in 2016, and yeah, it's I've been reviewing Nicolas Refn films, and I just reviewed Only God Forgives, which I hated personally, for me, and this is his 10th film, The Neon Demon, and it's his latest one as well. It stars Elle in, and it's about the model industry. And yeah, after coming, this is one of the last Refns that I saw. I think actually that apart from Belida, this was the last one I saw, and it was at the end of May, something like that I saw it. And yes, I didn't have high hopes for it because I had pretty much just seen The Only God Forgives, a couple of days before, and I just thought, it's really not acclaimed either. Of course, I don't always go by that, but it's panned for the most part, like Only God Forgives is. And I've heard many people say that it's just awful, and just something that's just pointless and style over substance. And yeah, it was actually quite a pleasant surprise. I did like this film. I didn't have high hopes at all. So Elle Fanning, she's basically about her rise and then maybe her fall, you could say, from the model sort of kind of industry and stuff. And it deals with so many different themes, like the meaning of beauty and stuff, and obsession as well. And it does it. We'll talk about the first half of the film first of all, because there's very much a split between the first and the second half of the film. But yes, Elle Fanning, I'd never seen her in anything before. She was great in this film. She really was. I was very impressed with her performance. And she's really the star in terms of the acting. Yes, and she's protagonist, and she kind of, as well, she has this kind of romance going on between a character called Dean, I believe it was, and he's played by Karl Glusman. And yes, the first sort of hour or so is her kind of, you see her kind of coming into the industry and dealing with different things. She meets these other models as well, and basically, yeah, there's loads of dynamics going on. She becomes, kind of big friends with one of the models in particular, and played by Jena Malone. Yes, she was a really good character. But yes, the writing I was picking up straight away. Really well written, this film. The characters, for the most part, the main characters are really well written. I thought, it's compelling characters, and it was it's brilliant. Coming off Only God Forgives, because I didn't find any characters in that were compelling. Yes, they were well written for the most part. There was a couple of flaws here and there though. For the first half of the film, I feel that the scene in the bathroom, in that nightclub with the four sort of women, was a bit. The dialogue wasn't great actually, and it just made them out to be a bit one-sided. Some of them models, the ones that were against her at first. Yes, and the performances from a couple of them weren't great. Just a bit lingered a bit too much on that. But it was so compelling. I was thinking this is a really good film. It's actually really good. It's not just a decent film. Actually, it's quite something different as well. Very unique. The style. He's kind of got this style now, Refn. Kind of started off with Bronson, but really it came into its own in Drive. And it's kind of this pulpy sort of neon sort of style, and the way he uses colours and everything. It's very consistent between Drive, Only God Forgives, and this. And it's very very stylish. And for the most part, in the first half, it doesn't overtake the substance. And I was thinking, why is this not more acclaimed? This is actually really something. It's not just style for the sake of it. It's really good. And I was really connecting to Elle Fanning's character and her relationship and just her endeavours, in the business and stuff. And it was compelling. There was a lot of conflict and drama, well written drama. It was really well directed for sure. And the cinematography was stunning. A couple of issues with the editing here and there, but really it was edited well as well. He establishes his tone very early on. There's a couple of moments where it breaks, as I've said in that scene in the bathroom and stuff. But really, for the first half, Yes, it was really good. Keanu Reeves actually was really good as well. It's kind of the manager of her apartment and stuff, you know, that complex. He was really good. There was a kind of a bizarre scene that never really went anywhere though. I think I can't remember now, some sort of animal in the room. Yeah, it was weird, it was out there, but it never really went anywhere. But, you know, maybe, I don't know what that meant. Could have symbolised something, but, yeah, it didn't really. It kind of wasn't quite consistent with the tone, but yeah, I was really enjoying it, and it was really good, and you know, just the relationship as well, very complex relationship she has with Jena Malone. It was just really good, and yeah, the second half comes about, and it slowly starts to decline. You know, I think that the first half had a lot of heart, and a lot of just enjoyable relationships and stuff going on that really compelled me. Unfortunately, things take a turn, and I was really annoyed because it started off so good. You know, it may have been if it picked up even more. It could have been called a great film for me. You know, not a masterpiece or anything, but yeah, it was so good. It was really, really good, and a lot more than what I expected. But the second half, it starts to become more bland, more just uninspired. There's not as much going on. There's not much relationships, or the narrative basically starts to become, you know, it kind of disappears at times. And you've just got some stuff. The direction it goes, it's just a bit baffling. And you know, from the hour to maybe the hour 20 mark, it's just stuff that I didn't really care for too much, and it started to just take a downturn. There was none of the stuff really as much with the actual business and the struggle, you know, for power and stuff going on as much. It's more focused on the three women, you know, the models, and even the kind of boyfriend takes a disappear. He kind of goes off. I don't know where he goes really. If you expect this film to wrap things up nicely, no, you're not going to get that. And if you expect it to actually come to a conclusion that's meaningful, no, not for me anyway. I think this was about, yeah, it was about 2 hours long nearly, and yes, it was about the hour and 20 mark really, where things started to become awful. Unfortunately, they final acted this film. I cannot explain really. I don't know what happened, but Refn really went off the rails here. The final act just doesn't make sense. It's soulless once again. Unfortunately, it turns into this horror film that really does not have its place, and it's just so bad. Actually, it's so lazy. It's so shocking for the sake of it. Actually, and I just don't. You know, when in the final the credits rolled, I just thought, why did he do that? You know, why did he ruin everything in that sense? Everything just, it was just, in the end, it was so pointless and very exploitive as well. A lot of stuff that's quite offensive, and just pretty gross, you know, for the sake of it. Didn't have its place, and I just thought, why did he go in that direction? He ruined what was a really good film, could have been a great film. I was really, you know, I was really, really enjoying this film. And it just turns into this lazy, kind of soulless film in the final act. For the last half an hour of the film, it just ruins everything, you know, that was put up. I'm not going to dwell on the ending though, like I do with a lot of films in the past, in the sense that the actual ending, you know, the result, I can't let it down. I'm not going to say it's a crap film because of that last act is crap. It is, you know, that first hour, really, really good. However, some of that, you know, after the hour mark starts going down. The last half an hour, as I say, I think is really, really bad actually. So I have to say, you know, it does bring it down a lot, and that's a fair rating that I'm going to give it because of that. You know, because it just, you know, I have to judge a film from start to finish, and that last half an hour was just so bad. It just didn't. It's soulless. It's just shock for the sake of shocking, and you know, them characters involved in the last act they turned into such, you know, why was I meant to care, you know, for this? Why did he do that? You know, I'm not going to ruin, but why did that happen? You know, it's just sometimes, you know, you don't, with a film, you don't, you know, you're not, you don't agree with how things planned out. Like you wish they would have gone a different way, but with films, you know, like this, it's ones that I think that was wrong to do that. I feel, you know, it shouldn't have ended like that, and I just don't agree with the direction at all. Not just because I was disappointed with how, you know, things turned out, because you know, in that sense, like you know, I'm not going to ruin anything, but yes, it's hard to explain. I didn't agree with the choices he made in the last act in particular, and how things turned out, because it just didn't. The narrative didn't come together in that sense at all, really, at the end. But because of how much I liked the first half in particular, and the visuals throughout, yeah, it's stunning again. Just them last bits and that last final act was gross. Really, it was soulless. It didn't make sense. It was just cop out, really ending, and it didn't really make any statements. The ones it did make, I know what it's trying to say some of the time, were really heavy-handed in that sense, and the rest of the film wasn't. You know, it was so good. Really, yeah, the stuff that really brought the rating down was the last half an hour, because it had quite a lot of flaws after the hour mark to the hour 20 mark, you could say, something like that. You know, roughly off memory. But really, the last half an hour is what really is shit for me, and maybe that's why some people hate on the film a lot. But you know, maybe I've just, you know, the first half of the film really surprised me, and it was really, really good. It would have been in the 80%. You know, it could have been high 8s from me, actually. It could have, and if it came together even more in the last act of the film, it could have been a great film. It just got ruined, though, really. It ruined the film. It brought it down so much. But because, you know, overall, I kind of balance it out. You know, Elle as well, in the bits that she's in the last act, is really, really good. You know, I think I'd have to say this is an average film, taking everything into account, because it has got an awful final act and stuff, and some flaws throughout the film. You know, a couple of flaws here and there, even in the first half of the film. But there's so much good stuff in there, so much stuff that, you know, a couple of things that are great. I connected to it for the first half so much. The second half, not so much at all. Didn't connect with a lot of it. So I think I'll give this film a 67%. You know, it's average. And I feel it's definitely a bit underrated still as well. Yeah, definitely. You know, it's a unique film, but really it goes into his worst traits in the final act. Kind of a bit like Only God Forgives, actually, and stuff. But it's just, yeah, it's cheap. It's a cop-out. It's offensive, and it's heavy-handed, and yeah, I just hated the way it went. It turned out like the last half an hour is mental. You know, it just doesn't make sense from a storytelling point of view. I just, you know, and as I say, there's always films that I think, oh, I wish it could have gone that way, but you feel it makes sense to the story, you know, to the narrative in that sense. If you know what I mean, maybe you do. But this time it didn't. It didn't make sense. That's what it was. I just felt, why did that happen? Why did it go that way? Why did it ruin, you know, what could have culminated into a really a narrative that resonated and said so many things and stuff about the industry and beauty and the meaning of that, and just, you know, how lives are valued and stuff. Had a lot of humanity in that first half, as well. Loads of characters disappear. You know, they just never come back into it, really. You know, Keanu Reeves and stuff, and the boyfriend, really, they don't, never really comes together in that sense. It just kind of lingers on this stuff with a central, you know, the 4 women and a couple of other minor characters. It just never really comes together in a meaningful way. But yes, no, I did like the Neon Demon, and I could easily watch it again and just love that kind of, almost, yeah, you could say love the first half of the film. I really think this is, yeah, it was unique. End of the day, though, it balances out to an average film, because as a whole, as a cohesive whole, you know. But yes, a pleasant surprise for a lot of the film, and yeah, another interesting film from Refn, although very, very flawed, especially the final act, as I say. But yes, that's the final in the Refn films. I'll be doing a ranking of his films from least favourite to favourite. That could be up very soon, actually. But yes, check out my reviews of Refn if you want to see them before. You know, I've made a playlist on my channel before the ranking. Yes, and look forward to that. But yes, it's a kind of a high note to end on his films. Better than a lot of people say, and better than his Only God Forgives. But yes, thanks for watching my review of Refn's The Neon Demon.